Hi everyone, I'm Megan and this is Beguiled by Books, a community of book lovers and word nerds. Today I'm sharing the 10 books I read in June 2025. Let's get started. June was a fun and busy month. We spent about 10 days out in the Denver, Colorado area, Breckenridge, Aspen, Vail, just exploring the beautiful state and just had a great time. Went to the midnight release of V.E. Schwab's Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil, and I can't wait to share that with you in just a little bit. I read 10 books in June, and I was surprised I was able to read so much given how many days we were traveling this month. I started with a book called Amplify by Adam Met. Adam Met is one of the members of the band AJR, who we actually saw in concert in Salt Lake City last year, very unexpectedly and spontaneously. And since then, I found out he was writing a book and has a PhD in basically climate change. I'm just going to call it climate change because I don't remember his actual field. But he wrote this book, which was really, really great because it's not about climate change necessarily. It's about activism and how you can help start movements that you support and how to gather community and how to support community around a shared passion and interest. It was a short book, but packed full of really helpful information for mobilization, activism, and understanding how to do things like peacefully protest and use the tools available at your disposal to really contribute to the cause that you want to support. Wonderful book. Highly recommend it for anyone interested in social justice or activism of any type. I read the book Says Who, and this was such a fun book to read because it is absolutely the book out there for my word nerds. It's a delightful book that looks at the evolution of language. Another book that I recommend for word nerds, I have a video dedicated to this, is a book called Word Slut by Amanda Montell. And Says Who is along those same lines with a much deeper dive into the evolution of language. So it talks about really common things, pronouncing the T in the word often, often or often. I'm an often girl. Some people are often people. That's great. And the evolution of not only words, but pronunciations, meanings, things like that. Can y'all hear the thunder? It's thunderstorming now. Says Who talks about all of these ways language and linguistics changes over time and her predictions for how things will become part of the new vocabulary or fade out in time. Really fascinating look. My dad's a bit of a word nerd. I bought a copy of this for him and gave it to him. He already has arguments. It's really entertaining. So I'm quite curious to know if you've read this book and what your thoughts are. In June, my local bookstore started a summer reading challenge for different categories of books. And one of the books is a staff pick. I selected the book, The Book Censor's Library, for my staff pick for my bingo challenge, and it was a really short and entertaining book. It's kind of like if Alice in Wonderland meets Fahrenheit 451 meets not a too far in the future dystopia. Really interesting. Very, very cool take on what it means to ban books and why banning books is kind of stupid. And just the extreme version, that far, far extreme version of what happens if we start taking book banning seriously as a society and what that really means for a lack of creativity and a lack of imagination. Fun take on a very serious topic, and I would highly recommend this book. Y'all, it is thunderstorming right now, and I cannot believe I am not sitting on my couch with a blanket reading a book, and I'm over here filming this video. What am I doing? I read the book Time is a Mother by Ocean Vuong, which is a poetry book, and I've known about Vuong since about 2019, never read any of the work. However, poetry is such an interesting genre because you can technically read a poetry book in under an hour, but are you really absorbing what you need to absorb from poetry? And that's what I love about poetry. There are so few poetry books that you can't revisit because you take something away new every time. And I feel like Ocean Vuong's work is very much in that vein. When you read it, you will take away one meaning, and then you can go back a month, a year, 10 years later and take away a completely different meaning from the same four lines. It's fascinating, and the work is incredibly powerful. The language is very simple, however, the meaning is very profound. If you like poetry, I would definitely recommend Time is a Mother. I finally got the book Kills Well with Others from my local library after a long awaited hold, and I am happy to say it was just as delightful as the first book, which is Killers of a Certain Age. These two books are really fun. They follow 60-something assassins who are trying to retire and keep getting pulled into missions. Kills Well with Others was all about an off the books mission for these four assassins and how that off the books mission helped them grow into the next phase of their lives. Really fun book, a little bit of mystery, a lot of bit of murder, really entertaining, very fast read, great for a beach read if you're looking for something like that. Lighthearted, very easy, low stakes, but very entertaining. I got the Hawthorne Legacy from hold on at the library while I was traveling in June, and it's the second book of a series. I'm so excited to talk about it. I'm stumbling over my words. But this was the second book in the Hawthorne Legacy, the Inheritance Games series, and I read it in a day. It was so good, so quick paced, which is really surprising for the second book in a series. I can't stress this enough. I love series, and so many of the middle books, whether it's the second book or the second through fifth book, depending how long the series is, some of those middle books can be just slogs. You are just desperate to get to the next thing because it's a stepping stone book. But I'm so happy to say the Hawthorne Legacy held its own as a standalone novel. Yes, you needed the first book to really understand what was happening, but it had a true beginning, middle, and end. And that's one of my favorite qualities of a book in a series. So the Hawthorne Legacy left me on a cliffhanger. I'm so excited for book three, which is still on hold at the library as the time of this filming. So hopefully I can get it in July and finish that third book. I think there are two more that I'm excited to read, but they're fun. They're YA novels. They're just delightful. Love them. Hope you get to read them. As I mentioned at the start of this video, on June 9th, 2025, I was lucky enough to attend V.E. Schwab's midnight release of her latest book, Bury Our Bones in Midnight Soil. Now, I am a big V.E. Schwab fan and own all of her work and have read a lot of it, not all of it yet. And Bury Our Bones is another standalone novel. So she's in the middle of a couple of series right now. So I love a good standalone, and Bury Our Bones was worth the wait. It is a slow start. Like a lot of V.E. Schwab's work, it does build and it takes the reader on a very intentional and specific journey. So about halfway through, you're probably going to sit there and go, I don't know, man. Should I keep reading? And you should, because the way it ends is surprising. It's not a shock. It's not necessarily crazy dramatic, but it is and the embodiment of toxic lesbian vampires, which is what was sold and that is what was delivered. So I love Bury Our Bones. Look out for the reading guide coming out very soon for your book club. And I hope you get to read this because it is 500 some pages of just wonderfulness. My local bookstore gave its very first author talk on June 24th, 2025, with the author Vanessa Vita Kelly, whose debut book is called When the Tides Held the Moon. And this book is about 1911 Brooklyn. A young Puerto Rican comes to New York to start a new life and gets involved in a carny type sideshow where they capture a real life merman, stick him in a tank, and try to get him as part of the sideshow. And just all of the events that unfold from that experience. That's not a spoiler. That is literally the setup of the book. I promise you have not been spoiled. But what happens after the merman gets captured is where the real story starts. And it's beautiful and it's hopeful and it's sweet and it's soft and it's queer and it's great for younger readers. It's great for older readers so that you're not so jaded and cynical about the world around us. And it just reminds you that love really can do so much in a world that feels like it's constantly against you. So I hope you get a chance to read When the Tides Held the Moon. And I can say from the author talk, she signed my book. Absolutely lovely human being. And I look forward to future works from Vanessa Vita Kelly. Continuing on my Ocean Vuong kick, I read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. Now, a friend of mine actually recommended this when this came out back in 2019, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, I should read that. Never did anything, didn't buy it, didn't think about it, and it's just been kind of itching the back of my brain ever since my friend told me about it, because I respect her and she's got great taste in books, and I don't know why I kind of summarily dismissed it, other than probably it was 2019 when I found out, and then hello, pandemic, and the world. But I did finally read it, and it is a really interesting way of writing a book and telling a story. Very powerful, very much understand why the praise has been given. It's very well deserved. And it takes the reader on a non-linear journey through our main character's life of growing up as a Vietnamese immigrant with a Vietnamese mother who doesn't speak English, and then discovering one's own sexuality and trying to fit in a world that really wasn't designed for you to fit in at the start, and how the many masks every individual wears in different ways. So really beautiful work of art. And I do say work of art because I think that's what this will become. This is going to be a new classic, and I'm going to add this to my new classics list. So I think you should read it. If you haven't read it, it is very powerful. And it's a story that really does need to be told. And I'm so glad someone is telling it. I wrapped up June with a book called Rogues by Patrick Radden Keefe, who is a writer for The New Yorker. And it's a story of, it's a collection of shorter stories about different individuals and their impact on the world, so to speak. But what I really wanted to read, and I'll be very straightforward, is the Anthony Bourdain story. And it was at the very end. Y'all know I love Anthony Bourdain. I hope he's resting in peace. And I didn't learn anything new necessarily about Anthony Bourdain just because I've read all of his work. But if you are the type of person who is interested in reading a little bit about people, but you don't want a full-blown biography on all these different individuals, this was a fabulous book to kind of give you a very surface level overview about some of these names that are really important to know, but you likely don't know who a lot of them are, like Supreme Court justices, people like Anthony Bourdain, um, drug dealers, grifters, as the cover shows. It's really interesting how the author Patrick Radden Keefe really pulls these stories and kind of weaves a narrative together in very different lenses. So it's a fun book. I was able to get it from the library, read through it pretty quickly, but it's got that great New Yorker article literary journalism spin, but kind of woven together like a story. So it was really cool. I definitely recommend this one. What are some of your top books that you've read in June? Y'all start commenting and let me know. I really do want to know. I'm looking forward to it. And if you like this video or found a book that you're excited to read or maybe want to share with someone, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and drop on down to the pinned comment or the description and sign up for my upcoming course, The Growth Library, so you can get early access when we start launching that later this year. We're really looking forward to having you over there. I hope you've had a great time watching this video, and I hope you have an even better day.